I think I'm just gonna skip the intro for this episode. I had a video recorded a few weeks ago, still on my computer. I had just gotten through a really bad low point I had made a video talking about how good everything was turning. I recorded that on a Sunday. The next day I was called to Brampton, about an hour away from my house. My Rachel's fight with depression came to an end. She had been struggling as far back as she could remember, and no matter what she tried, and no matter how hard she tried, depression won. Don't worry, most of these cuts are going to be edited out anyway, so. For people who don't suffer from mental illness, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to understand the kind of trauma that comes with it, and how hard that psychological struggle is to deal with. So like I said in one of my earlier videos, talking about myself, if you take away the adjective, if you take away physical or mental, you're still left with an illness. Physical illnesses are a lot easier to see. They're a lot easier to describe and understand. We've all gone through some form of physical illness or physical ailment, whether it's a broken bone or food poisoning or a severe car injury or a debilitating illness, giving birth or stubbing a toe. We all have some frame of reference to understand and acknowledge a physical pain. But we don't all have the ability to understand the mental pain an illness like depression can bring on. Nothing I'm going to say is based in scientific fact or anything like that. It's sort of, I'm going to do my best to try to explain for those who don't and hopefully never will understand the kind of struggle someone like Rachel went through. Someone like me goes through. Picture... I'll try to save this in editing. You know when you bite your cheek? Just bear with me. You know when you bite your cheek, just out of nowhere, your brain just stops for a second because you weren't expecting it, and it hurts a lot more than it should. Not only that, but then it becomes swollen. And so now you're going to bite it more often. And you keep biting it, you keep biting it. And then you start doing things differently. You slow down, you're eating because you don't want to bite your cheek. But even that doesn't always work. And no matter what you try, it just starts to make things worse. You bite it more, and it's more sensitive, and it's raw. So now when you're drinking a coffee, your coffee's way too hot and it burns, and so you drink some water, but the water's too cold and it freezes. Now imagine that happening with a punch to your sternum so hard it knocks the wind out of you for 5 minutes. And you can't breathe. And then you start to panic because you can't breathe. And eventually you catch your breath again. You breathe just long enough to let your guard down before you get punched again. And then your guard starts never coming down. So then that hit comes harder and harder. And then the harder you get hit, the longer it is before you can catch your breath. Then you realize, well, if you just stay in one spot and don't move, you don't get hit. Think of that sort of physical trauma, that inability to breathe, that just collapsing to the ground, that desire to not move, to not get out of bed. Think of those little punches as every single negative thing somebody says about you, says to you, does to you. Big or small, it doesn't matter. Whether you're sitting there and you're telling rumors about somebody at work, knocking them down, speaking about them in another language so you think they can't understand you. Whether it's convincing somebody that love is supposed to hurt, both physically and emotionally and mentally. You throw that many needles at somebody, a healthy somebody, and eventually you're gonna draw blood. But now you take someone who has been hurt so much for so long that they believe they deserve all of those needles. Eventually, no matter what bed you sleep in, it becomes a bed of nails, and you can never find rest. And no matter what people do, no matter what people say, no matter how much people try, there are too many holes to plug, and nothing will work. And you just sink. Again, this has no basis in fact or anything, but I think of mental illness as a cancer of your thoughts. Sometimes if you catch it early enough, simple treatment will do, and you'll be back into recovery in no time. Sometimes it's deep and it's aggressive, but you catch it early enough, and with doctor's supervision and treatment for who knows how long, you'll be okay. Sometimes, no matter where you go, no matter who you see, no matter what medications you try, what treatments you try, nothing works, and the best thing we can do is make their last times here on here. Sometimes the best thing we can do is just make their last time here on Earth with us as peaceful and as special and as painless as we can. On my best of times, I look at the time that I had with Rachel as time that she chose to spend with me because she knew that I would bring her peace. But when my depression takes over, she turned to me for help, and I couldn't help her. And no matter how much I tell myself that there's nothing I could have done, that gut punch still knocks me off my feet every time. We only had started seeing each other January 8th of this year, so not a long time. But I knew back in February that Rachel was the one that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. I didn't want to move too fast, especially because she was really nervous to tell her parents, especially after the way her last guy treated her. They were afraid that they were just gonna automatically hate me. So we only told her family in June. So I didn't wanna rush anything. But being the romantic sap that I am, I was gonna take her to my apartment where I lived at the time where we met, where we first met, and I was gonna propose to her the day she told me she liked me. I had tried for a while, but I couldn't get the words out, because I can never get the words out. She saw through my anxiety. She told me her feelings for me, and so right now I feel like I'm spinning, literally, because this is what my anxiety feels like. When I get like this, words meant nothing. I've had so many people say so many things that words tend to make things worse. And so my depression got this bad. As dumb and as cheesy as it sounds, the only thing that really could make me feel better and to bring me peace again was to just be around Rachel. I've been doing my behavioral therapy. For those of you that watched my last video, I was starting that up, and so I've been doing a lot of stuff and work towards that, and at my worst of times, when I was standing on that ledge myself, when depression was about to win, Rachel would just come over, and we didn't have to say anything. Just being in the same room with her just made everything better. The unconditional love and support that I got from her, you don't find that in fairy tales. That was like something from a Disney movie. That was disgustingly cheesy, and I loved every second of it. She loved who I was, the good and the bad. I didn't need to do anything fancy with her. For her, it was just time. And for me, it was just time. Rachel forced her way through my demons, through my illness. She got through my pain. I had worth. Every part of me had worth. Rachel understood she was loved. She felt the love. She felt the support. She knew it was there. But no matter what we tried, no matter what anyone tried, anyone said, did, no matter what treatments she sought, what medications she was on, what doctors she spoke to, no one could get her to believe she deserved it. Rachel tried and did everything she could, and everything she did and everything we did gave her a little bit more time. Through Rachel's illness and Rachel's battles with depression, she found a great strength to talk about her struggles and was a huge advocate for mental health. I know I've spoken in this channel in the past on some of my struggles, but in light of Rachel's passing, it's been made clear that I need to do more. And I'm already working on an event, a fundraiser to help raise money for mental health and not just awareness, but treatment and current support. Because if I have to drive an hour and a half, and if I was put on an 8-month waiting list before I could start seeing treatment because of a backlog, well, how many other people lost their fights with their illness waiting for proper treatment? So if I can help someone the way Rachel helped me more than once, if I can help save someone else's life, whether it's through a fundraiser, through me speaking out, through somebody reaching out to me, please reach out. Make it to tomorrow, and make it to the next tomorrow. And before anybody freaks out or gets overly concerned, in my last goodbye to Rachel, I made a promise to her not to do anything that I can't take back. No matter how much I want to see her and hold her again. The last 8 months that she spent loving and caring for me and showing me that I mean something will have been for nothing. So I'm not going anywhere. Once again, everybody, thank you so much for watching. My name's David, and don't forget, if you're hurt, if you're sad, if you feel like you're alone, if you feel empty, if you feel cold, if you feel hollow, or any other of those horrible feelings, please don't forget, tell a friend.